How can you write what you don't know?
You may have written what you don't know in the past, but maybe you just didn't call it that. Have you ever felt like something just came to you? You didn't think it up. It just came from some part of your brain that's not your conscious, rational, intentional, hardworking mind.
And when that experience happens, that thing comes to you, as Charles Wright tells us, it's spontaneous. And when it happens, you feel this sense of pleasure, joy, really. It certainly surprises you. And it can happen while you're making a sandwich. How often have you heard, "It happened to me in the shower"? Or it might happen while you're out on a walk down a path.
So let's say you're walking down that path, and if you're really, really focused on that path, it's not going to come to you. But when you let your focus drift a little bit, when you let your mind play, when you're aware of what might be happening out of the corners of your eyes, that's what we mean by writing what you don't know. Not being intently focused on an agenda, but letting what comes come.
And when you tell a story from your rational mind, one that you already know, one you've told a lot of times, you're recounting a version, an official version of your story that your rational mind is already organized, it's categorized, and it's made meaning from.
So Arthur Miller, who wrote the play Death of a Salesman, said that he couldn't write a story that he knew too well because it felt like a twice-told tale. And what he meant by twice-told tale was that it felt stale and sort of flat and inauthentic. It didn't have the tang of life, because when we are living life, we don't know far more than we know. We don't know what any of these people or events or places are going to mean to us in the future. We don't know how this story that we're somehow in the middle of is going to turn out.
I mean, we really don't know what's going to happen in the next 10 seconds or even 5 seconds for that matter. So when you work with the imaginative storm process, what happens is, because you don't know what's going to happen next, you shake up your memories, you shake up the way you experience things, you shake up your perceptions. You do begin to smile and feel that spontaneity, that joy merging through you. And what most especially will happen, you will begin to rearrange your stories into brand new forms.
So you could also think of it like lace. The pattern is formed by what's not there just as much as by what is there. Lace is a combination of the present and the absent, the positive space and the negative space. So we're not saying don't ever write what you know. Ernest Hemingway told you to write what you know, and he wasn't wrong. If you're going to write about plumbing or rocket science or hunting, I guess, if you're Ernest Hemingway, it's a good idea to know something about plumbing or rocket science or Ernest Hemingway. Not Ernest Hemingway, don't know anything about him, or hunting. But that's not the same thing as telling a story. So when you are telling a story, you need to feel what the characters know at that moment, which is an awful lot of what we don't know. That character may be you in the past if you're writing a memoir. It may be a fictional character whose story you already have worked out in your head. But to get the sense of life into those characters at that time of the story, you have to get back into that feeling of what you and they don't know.
And here is one thing we want you to know. When you work with this imaginative storm process, you will be writing from your imaginative storm to the creative form. And here's the important thing to know. The creative form will come later.
So writing what you don't know is like a different kind of research. It's still the research phase. Writing what you don't know enables you to mine that rich raw material from your imagination and from your memories, your experience, parts of it that your rational mind may have tidied away out of sight because it didn't fit the story.
This is the prep work. Stay in your prep when you're doing this process. Stay in your prep. And that's why we call it writer training.
Because if you're an actor, you train first. If you're an athlete, you train first, even if you're not an athlete. But let's say you're ambitious and you want to run a marathon. You don't just call your friend and say, hey, meet me 26 miles down the road. I'm going to need a lift home. You train first. If you're a musician, you're a guitarist, you noodle around chords. If you're a pianist, you run scales. You don't just turn up on stage at Carnegie Hall and launch into Beethoven.
Like your body and your musical talent, your creative mind becomes more and more powerful when you train. When you stretch your imagination, it gets more supple. When you challenge it, it gains strength. Pretty soon, it will get sassy, and it will surprise you.
And surprise is the key.